of you saw Scott Wiener's bill today? How many of you saw that? Oh, wow, interesting. Okay, so it was in the news this morning. Scott Wiener is a senator from San Francisco. I completely don't align. I'm a Democrat, by the way. I'm a Democrat, but I get support from every party because my interests are there for people. When I challenge the water utility companies or when I reduce taxes, I'm the only candidate in this race who actually fought against a tax increase and rejected it. So my interests are to actually address the challenges of people, and that's why I get support from every party. Democrats, Republicans, Green Party, Libertarians, everyone finds reason enough to support my run. So Scott Wiener is a Democrat, but what I noticed is, he's putting together a framework of a proposal, a policy, that will sort of put a lot of testing is needed with these LLMs, basically. But it doesn't mean that there are some of these more established LLMs will not need to go through a rigorous testing. It's only the startup. I feel it's unfair because many of you are part of the startup economy here, and we want to make sure it's a fair game because there is an upstart here, which is the next ChatGPT happening today, right here in this room. We want to make it easy for all of you. So I feel that bill is not fair. So please go look it up. Scott Wiener's proposal, it's a legislative proposal that he's rolling out. So I feel that we should be at a national level, we should be coming up with a very logical, fairly pragmatic policy when it comes to artificial intelligence and how we want to grow this economy based upon that. I'll be very simple on this one. It's the new arms race. How many of you have seen Oppenheimer? If we hadn't embarked upon that nuclear strategy, US would not be a world power today. It would not be a world power. But forget about the nuclear technology or the arms and the arms race that we had. This is the new arms race of the future. It's AI, because if we don't embrace it, if we don't move forward, there are countries around the world that are allies. There are allies that will be eating our lunch and our dinner and will be done. We will not be a superpower anymore. So I believe it's the imperative right now to have the right type of leaders in Washington who will embrace this and they will push this and ensure that US as an innovation economy will dominate the whole world with our AI approaches, with our technologies in different verticals. So I'll leave it at that. But obviously I'm a big believer. With the appropriate guardrails, we can do some pretty amazing things.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't need to see. Next up, the second question. So which areas of great AI companies are more likely to emerge?
So the answer is pretty much all the different verticals, right? You look at let's look at very simple impacts in life, right? The graphics designers are probably going to be redundant as a profession over time, or technical writers for that matter, right? You can see how it is impacting. There is a loss of job happening, but at the same time, we have to retread and retrain our workers for the new AI economy. That's very, very important. When you look at, for example, enterprises, let's look at IBM has rolled out the watsonx.ai solution, which is basically enterprise level LLMs that they have rolled out. And now they are making sure that these LLMs that they have built will now impact different verticals, whether it's retail or the banking industry or the finance industry or the healthcare industry. Those are types of impacts that will happen. And so I believe it is my quick answer on this one is it's going to impact the whole world in a very dramatic way. And it will create a lot more optimization of how we function in this world. And it will create a lot more prosperity. Yes, jobs will have to be rethought. Andrew Yang, how many of you have heard of Andrew Yang? He came up with the UBI because he said there's automation happening and we will find issues there. But as we automate, as we create efficiencies, maybe we don't have to work 5 days, maybe we have to work 4 days. Those are types of approaches. It doesn't mean that we basically fire away a bunch of people, but that efficiency should create happiness with each of us, with how we function upon the world. So that's my quick take. So every single vertical, I have lots of examples I can give out, but let's try to explore these types of examples as we have the conversation.
Fascinating insights. But all the great things start from small. So we have a lot of startup founders here. The startups are young and fragile. So how do you support like AI startups in the Bay Area? What is your like policies? What is your initiatives?
Yeah. So, I think when we talk about AI as the big evil, that's definitely not something I'm keen for. And as somebody who will be the first tech-savvy leader in Congress from Silicon Valley, what I would like to do is establish innovation hubs. When you have this event happening here, why don't we establish an innovation hub for Silicon Valley in different regions across the district, whether it's East Bay, South Bay, in Peninsula, or even on the coast side. We should establish these federal government funded programs which will bring innovators like each of you, which will bring young students like sitting right in front of me, will bring them over, bring the professors from San Jose State University or from Stanford University or from De Anza Community College. Let's bring them together and establish an ecosystem which is funded by the federal government for innovation. You look at the Moffett Field, that's like vacant land sitting there for a long time. I believe we can create these innovation hubs in these locations. So bring the federal funding and ensure that we are innovating with these hot areas, because if we don't do that, like I said, we'll be left behind. So that's a policy idea. Bring the funding for Silicon Valley, which we have never quite done. I've been very fortunate and proud that we have rolled out the K-12 computer science curriculum program for the state of California. If you have seen my website, this is what we talked about. We did this in 2018. It went live in 2020. And now every public school child in the state of California is studying elements of computer science. And for me, being a STEM proponent, I believe it's very, very important that we do that. Similarly, now what I would like to do as a policymaker is to ensure that all over the United States, we are starting to teach young kindergartners at kindergarten level. We are teaching them about AI, teaching them about ethics, because that's how we can sort of create a future where they understand the trials and tribulations of the artificial intelligence technology. And we can basically harness their minds, their brains for effective purposes, So anyway, those are some examples of policy ideas that we have. The idea being to make sure that every startup has an opportunity to succeed in the world of AI.
Okay, thank you so much. Next up, we have the most interesting question I have prepared. So, given your experience in public service and technology, how do you see AI being effectively integrated into public services and governance to improve efficiency and accountability?
Okay, so these are like putting me on the hot seat. Is this engaging enough? Interesting enough? So, how many of you have heard of electronic medical record? EMRs. Obama tried that. And so there are companies that are in the EMR business, and they charge you billions of dollars, right? We all know these companies. Now, Obama said, let's create a national electronic medical record. That program has faltered. But I think what we need to happen is we need to create these LLMs in the world of government. The government, the federal government should actually build this model. So we actually need, when you go through food and drugs, there's a Food and Drug Administration. So we need an AI administration as well, because this is so important and critical that we need to establish this in Washington that will thrive based upon policies, that will help America thrive based upon these types of policies. And if we build out these large language models for the public sector that people can harness, whether it's somebody who's part of a Medicare program and they're able to harness that model in terms of providing the right type of service for a senior who's looking for coverage, right? If we can create those models. Or in terms of the economic indicators, it's basically right now Jerome Powell is the guy who's looking at this and saying we should lower interest rates, we should increase interest rates. But it's a little bit like witchcraft, I think, There's some science behind it, but I don't think so we are truly getting it right. Because you increase the interest rates and then everything goes haywire completely. Why don't we create these models, these LLMs that will help us create a much more scientific approach in how we want to tweak the economy based upon the data that is coming to us, right? So those are some ideas we have. We need to build those LLMs at the public sector level that could be harnessed to ensure the future prosperity of America. Now, this would create a whole set of competitive advantage for us if we do that. The ramification is just tremendous in terms of how the public sector could deploy it. When you look at the city of Cupertino or the city of Saratoga, once we have a model like that, we can now, it could be simple as public record request, making it easier. You know how much money we spend on public records request? When people say the staff member sits down, starts digging out the documents, all that kind of stuff. But if you took now every public sector record is open for the public. So it's open. It's like transparency is very important. But if we take all the data, put it into that LLM model, and now we are able to harness that type of information easily, where people can go and make a request and find that data, right? So there are tremendous efficiencies that we can create in the public sector. Right now we have a bunch of ideas. I need your help to get to Washington and make it happen.
Thank you so much. It's really insightful. I think Rishi probably the person who knows AI the best among all those who serve in the public service. We're very looking forward that you integrate AI into public services. And if you need anyone to help you integrate in the future, let me know. We have over 1,500 members, a lot of people working in big tech, Google, Facebook, and we would like to help you to implement the great ideas. Okay, great. So next up, we'll go to the last question, education and AI workforce. So the AI industry requires a highly skilled workforce. What strategy do you propose to enhance STEM education and workforce development in AI and machine learning? And the last question actually from Ken. Ken sit here. So Ken wants me to add this question. So with the advancement of robotics, do you think there will be more layoffs in the future? And how would you address this